This brief video will provide you with an overview of a teaching and learning resource designed to help with the integration of sustainability into your curriculum. This project has become known as the SDG Toolkit and supports the UCC academic strategy and specifically the connected curriculum. As we scroll down the landing page, we'll find a welcome video from UCC President John O'Halloran, who speaks to the significance of this resource with regards to teaching and learning, as well as strategic objectives. Below this are the navigation icons, which we'll be coming back to in a moment. And I'd just like to point out that this is an open source resource licensed through the Creative Commons, with the only caveat being no financial gain. But please feel free to modify this if you're outside of UCC to meet your own institutional needs. If we scroll back up to the icons for navigation, I'd like to say that the About the Project provides detail for the rationale of this project, as well as the process itself. And the idea was this could serve as a case study for other institutions who are looking to develop similar resources or modify this resource, as well as those within UCC who may be interested in knowing this background. About the Team provides information on the steering committee as well as the advisory committee that helped inform this project. And now I'd like to go to the About the SDGs subpage. And this was largely created from desires expressed during the consultation phase of this project with UCC staff to provide just basic background information for an individual who may have no background at all with the SDGs. So giving that very basic introduction, with of course one of the most important parts of this is to meet the needs of the most vulnerable and to leave no one behind. This overview provides a timeline from the sort of initial concept of sustainability, which was galvanized during the 1972 Stockholm conference and manifest eventually as the SDGs in 2015. Basic attributes of the SDGs, information about how there are three pillars to the SDGs: an environmental, a societal, and an economic, and how there's the environment is the foundation and which holds up the society, and this in turn holds up the economy. So we really do need to have these facets in line and stable. But this also begins to point out the interconnection between these SDGs, and they're not acting in isolation. Another important aspect of the SDGs is they're not just the 17 tiles that most people become very familiar with, those iconic images, but what's probably more important are the 196 SDG targets, which sits under these 17 SDGs. And these are the action items. And one can actually be a little bit misled if they just think about it in terms of the 17 icons and the short description. But we really need to get down into the targets as well as the indicators, which are the KPIs. And this is where there's actually data supporting the SDG progress. And finally, there are resources available which have the URLs embedded, so if you want to get more information. But this was designed with the idea that staff can use this information to quickly create PowerPoints to introduce the SDGs within their module. So now we'll go to a little more advanced area, which is bringing the SDGs into your teaching, which does, again, starting with the broad overview of the SDGs, but in thinking about in terms of SDG 4.7, which is about the education for sustainability aspect, which again, when we bring the SDGs into our curriculum and make these connections, we are already addressing target 4.7. And from a disciplinary aspect, the SDGs don't undercut the significance of the discipline itself. We do need this strong disciplinary background or foundation, but these problems, these societal problems expressed through the SDGs are very transdisciplinary in their very nature because of the complexity of the issues in play, such as climate change. And they do need this multi or transdisciplinary framework to address these. And the SDGs provide a common goals, and they provide a transdisciplinary language for us to address this. There's also here, as you begin to embark this journey of bringing sustainability into your curriculum, some scaffolding questions to get you to thinking about what you may need to do to modify or redesign your curriculum, or even just to signpost and map what you're already doing. A few resources, which I'll be coming back to in just a moment. And we start to get deeper and deeper into the teaching and learning philosophy and theories here as we go down the line here. So this is definitely worth a read in developing an understanding of it, giving you inroads into curriculum, resources, digital resources that you may find to help to work through some of these areas around the SDGs, and something that when we start to really become serious with the SDGs, we're including them into learning outcomes, and of course having these learning outcomes aligned with the activities and assessments within a module. So very important. Again, there's more about just developing competences, and so you'll have to just give that a read and see and where to go next, and other tools and resources you might find helpful in this area. Going back up to these tools I wanted to mention to you, the mapping tool was created out of the realization that many academic staff are already addressing SDG targets within their curriculum without really even knowing it. And so this is to help make those intentional linkages and to be able to speak in terms of the SDGs during this. So realizing where the connection points are. An individual may not realize the connection point or may not be specifically addressing it, but it may be an easy connection to make once they understand the targets. A brief video here which describes these mapping tools in more detail, so if you want, you can give that a watch there. There's 4 mapping tools here. The first one was the module, and that was to the module, and that was the initial one. But then there was a realization that this could also help a course or a program of study to align the SDGs through their activities, to develop a foundational part and just to keep it going through the program of study. Also, learning of the what your students understand about the SDGs, and getting them to be looking at their module or their program in terms of where it fits to the SDGs. So this is getting the student to also get a deeper understanding of these SDGs and their targets. And lastly, you can bring this to your research. Many funding agencies are actually requiring these broader societal impacts, and some specifically regarding the SDGs. So this may help with your funding application, but from this context, more importantly, is finding ways to bring that research back into your curriculum and make those connections that will ultimately benefit our students. So now I'm going to go to the resource library. This is, again, something asked for by staff, but just to have a digital library of available resources that they can bring into their curriculum. One of the things that were asked for were the basic information, but as well as videos, and videos that could be used in the classroom to quickly mention the SDGs or bring these into a focus. So you can see here that the video resource, and also the time is highlighted there, so you can see what you're getting into. This can be done pretty quickly within a classroom to then open up a discussion, or equally this can be brought into a learning management system such as Canvas or Blackboard, and these videos can be used as to seed conversation in a discussion forum, so getting the students to develop their own understanding of the SDGs. And that particular technique wouldn't use up class time if that's a limiting factor. Some from the UN, some from other sources. General information about sustainability at large, because sustainability can be thought of as something actually larger than just sustainable development. About ESD itself, some ways of looking at that, further resources. Progress toward SDGs, that's a big question that that students do tend to ask, is how are we doing on the SDGs, say as Ireland or around the world, and these are looked at annually through those SDG indicators. An important part of the SDGs, which you kind of mentioned earlier, is that they're interlinked. These you can't just be working on something in isolation and not expect it to either have positive or negative consequences on other SDGs. Sometimes neutral, but usually there's some effect. So this gets into the idea of those interlinkages and as well as the three pillars. And then we look at the three pillars in more detail, just on the environmental aspects, say, or breaking it down into specific SDGs, like climate is one where there's quite a bit of information, but we can look at life on land and underwater. Social pillars, again, probably the most numerous of all the SDGs fall in this category. Human migration was something that was asked for, and it's an area of study here at UCC. And again, you can look at the specific SDGs, and if you just wanted to, in the very beginning, find a way to get yourself, say, to SDG 4, you could just use, the Apple F4 or Control F4 and do a keyword search and bring you to this. We do hope to improve this feature here on the searching functionality. And then economic as well is covered and extensively here. Activities of Chambers Ireland and around Cork related to the SDGs. Resources from the World Economic Forum or World Bank are here, as well as taking a little bit of a dive into donut economics and circular economy, something that was asked for. So I'd like now to bring you back to the top of this page, and I'll bring you back to the home page. So if there is anything that you would like further information about, or maybe in some way contribute to this project, please go to the the About the Team feature there, and there's contact information that you can find. And so I wish you all the best with this very important societal need of getting our students and our graduates to have a higher degree of sustainability literacy as they face what are going to be some huge challenges in their life and over the next 10 to 20 years. So thank you very much.